I don't know if you can tell, but I have a cold. Thank you, little preschool children. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Amy. Today I'm going to be doing my October wrap-up and my autumn readathon wrap-up. I'm combining the two because overall I did not read many books this month. I only read 6, which is low for me, but I'm trying to be okay with that because this is just about having fun, and I read, and that's the point of readathons and these wrap-ups, is just talking about the books that I've read. So if you're interested to see what books I did get to, then go ahead and keep on watching. The first book that I read this month, I did a buddy read with Isabel Flynn. I'll leave her channel linked down below, and that was The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is a Russian folklore fairy tale story about a girl named Vasilisa who's just trying to cope with a very religious stepmother who doesn't want to pay homage to the mythical creatures of Russian folklore and what happens because of that. I have already done a review on this. I will link that up here for you guys, but I highly recommend this book. I cannot wait for the second book to come out in December. It was just a very enjoyable read for me. And the next book that I read this month, or I think it was the next book, I'm not sure about these next two, was My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. This is a YA book that retells the story of Lady Jane Grey, who was on the throne of England for 9 days. And this story is so much fun. Again, I have done a book review on this. I'll link it up here for you guys. I believe I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars as well. It's a wonderful story about 3 young people, King Edward, Gifford, who is Lady Jane's husband, and Lady Jane, and there's a mythical, magical element to this book that just makes it an absolute blast to read. Even if you're not a YA reader, I really recommend this book because it's just a lot of fun, and you really should go read it. The third book that I read this month was The Butcher's Hook by Janet Ellis. This is a story that I didn't know what to do with, but I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars because it stayed with me and I enjoyed it so very much, which I don't think I was expecting. I am planning on doing a book review for this book still. It is not up yet, but I will link it up here if it is after the fact. But otherwise, please be on the lookout for that. This is a crazy, dark, sinister story about a 19-year-old girl named Anne growing up in the 1760s in London, and her just dealing with life and her attraction and love for a local butcher's apprentice. And like I said, a review will be coming, but just spoiler alert, go read it, because like I said, 5 out of 5 stars. I also read A Study in Scarlet by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, which is most obviously the first Sherlock Holmes novel. It's only about 120 pages, so it's a quick read. I think I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars because there's a middle section where the narrative switches a little bit that I didn't enjoy. But overall, I thought it was fun. It was actually very cool to see what the BBC Sherlock took from this story because it's very similar, so I think that might have spoiled it for me a little bit, but not in a, like, his writing I found was to be super accessible and the characters were really good. I'm excited to read more about them in the future. And then the books that I got to for the autumn readathon only happened to be 2 of them. One of which I completely changed my mind about, and I picked a different nonfiction book to read, and for that was When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron. Sorry, terrible. This is a book written by Pema, who is an American Buddhist monk, and she had an editor who kind of put these writings together and said, hey, I think we should publish this as a book, and then Pema was able to work on it as much as she liked after the fact, and this is absolutely wonderful. For someone like me who struggles from both depression and anxiety, this book helped me, or I think will continue to help me, cope with the feelings and emotions I have. This isn't necessarily a book for people who have this one giant thing that falls apart in their lives, although I do think it can help there as well. In my opinion, everyone should read this book. It just allows you to look at life in a different way and acknowledge your emotions but not hang on to them and be okay with the way you feel. And it's just about being present in the here and now and why that's so important. And obviously she's a Buddhist monk, so there's a lot of Buddhism discussed in this book, and different doctrines and what have you, but I absolutely recommend this. I probably will do a separate book review on this as well, because I did find this book to just be so very important, and it was really good, and it helped my anxiety brain a lot. So I highly, highly recommend. And the last book that I managed to get to over the autumn readathon was a roller coaster ride for me, and that was Days Without End by Sebastian Barry. This book was longlisted for the Man Booker, and part of the reason why I gravitated toward it, and it's also a LGBTQ plus story about two men during the Indian Wars in America and the Civil War, and the first 100 pages of this book I hated. I didn't like the writing. I didn't enjoy the story at that point. I almost DNF'd this book, but I'm very glad that I didn't, because this story essentially just tells it is narrated by Thomas. Is his name Thomas? Yes. Thomas McNulty, who is an immigrant from Ireland, he's just telling you his story. So this book is told in a constant stream of consciousness, which I didn't particularly enjoy. I did get used to it, but initially I struggled a lot with it, and I don't think it's my favorite writing device to tell a story. It'll be interesting for me to read more in the future, but overall I didn't love that part of this book. And it's just it's talking to you about his essentially adult life and his relationship with John Cole, who is a part Indian, and how they lived in the army and out of the army, and how they adopted a young Sioux girl. And like I said, the first 100 pages is crazy slow. I didn't enjoy it. For me, it was just kind of the lead up to them adopting this young Sioux girl. After that, I find the book to be wonderful and actually have more of a plot line going for it. I love the discussion on gender and masculinity and relationships and how other people dealt with that fact within this book. Overall, I think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5, although it was really close to a 4, but just because the beginning was so slow and I didn't enjoy the writing style, for me it was a 3 out of 5. If that doesn't bother you, then I think you would really, really enjoy this book, and I think it's worth giving it a shot, even if you don't think you like that type of writing, because I did get used to it and I did find that I enjoyed it more throughout, but initially it was hard for me. I do have more thoughts and ideas about this book, so if you would like to see a review on that, please mention it down below in the comments. But those are the books that I got to this month. I did manage to read a couple of short stories from Men Without Women by Haruki Murakami, and I'm enjoying them. I'm not sure what I think about them necessarily, but I will talk about that more in a review or my November wrap-up when I do finish this book. But if you guys like this video, please like it, and if you participated in the autumn readathon and were as unsuccessful as I was, although I did manage to read a few books, so I would say that is a success, but not as much of a success as I was hoping, or you read some really great books this month, let's chat about it. But like I said, if you like this video, please like it. I've said that twice now. And if you loved it, please subscribe, and we'll see you in my next video. Happy reading.